This tutorial will show you how to create the Supplier Details data template and then use it as a linked data template from the product list data template grouped by category. The Supplier Details data template is one of the templates installed when you have chosen to install the demo data. It uses the Northwind database, which will also have been installed. This tutorial will also introduce criteria for a query and how to identify fields which can be used to dial phone numbers, open a website, or display a location on a map. If you have installed the demo data, then a database user called Data Pigeon will have been created with a password of Data Pigeon. Otherwise, you will need a valid username and password to access the Northwind database. Let's get started. Click the Template button on the home screen to create a new data template. Enter Tutorial Supplier Details for the name field. This should be as descriptive as possible and is the title shown on the home screen list of data templates. Enter Supplier Details in the caption field. This is the name of the data template which will be displayed on mobile clients. Select Teal for the style. This provides a theme for the mobile client to use when displaying data for this data template. We don't want mobile users to use this data template on its own. It will be displayed when a user wants to see details about a supplier when viewing a product. Uncheck the visible field. Click the Save button on the toolbar. Now we need to create a query which will return the data we want. Since we are connecting to Microsoft SQL Server, we can use the wizard to make connecting easier. Ensure that the connection type is set to OLEDB and change the database to MS SQL Server. A wizard button will now appear at the end of the toolbar. Click the wizard button. This pops up the SQL Server connection wizard. The first field to be completed is the server name. Click the refresh button to the right of the available servers field. This will then search for available SQL servers. After a few moments, one or more SQL servers should be listed. Click on the one you wish to connect to. For the Northwind database, this will usually be named using your machine name followed by \SQL Express. Now enter your username for the database, followed by your password. Click the refresh button to the right of the database field to obtain a list of databases on the selected server. If your username or password is incorrect, you will see an error message displayed. Select the Northwind database. Now click the Test button to verify that Data Pigeon can connect to the database. If all went well, you will see success displayed in the message area. Now click the OK button to close the connection wizard and continue. Fill in the caption field with supplier and then click the Save button in the toolbar. Now we want to specify what data is required. To do this, we will use the Visual Query Designer, so click the Design button in the toolbar. The Query Designer should now show a list of database tables on the left and show an empty canvas area in the centre. Scroll down the list of tables and drag the table suppliers from the table list onto the canvas. Now we need to select some fields, or columns as they are more correctly called, which we would like to see in our results. Select the supplier ID fields in the suppliers table by ticking the checkbox alongside it. You will see that the field is added to the grid in the lower part of the designer. On the toolbar you will see a button called Show. Click this and a new panel opens at the bottom of the designer which displays the raw SQL being generated. Now select the remaining fields we need: company name, contact name, contact title, address, city, region, postal code, country, phone, fax, homepage. Now we need to provide a criterion since we only want to select one supplier, and that will be based on the supplier ID. If you recall, from tutorial 1 we included the supplier ID when we were creating the products query. After we have tidied up the supplier data template, we will revisit the products data template and establish a link between them. In the grid area of the designer, on the row for supplier's supplier ID, enter equals ? in the column called criteria. The question mark is what is called a placeholder and is used to identify that a criterion is required here. In different scenarios, we could use different operators such as less than, greater than, and so on. Click the Save button in the toolbar. We now have a working query which is also visible to a mobile client. Normally you could see what it looks like by clicking the Test button in the toolbar. However, because we have included criteria in our query, we need to provide a test value for it. Click the Criteria button in the toolbar. This screen is similar to the Edit columns screen. The list of criteria is on the left and the fields to edit for the selected criterion are on the right. Ensure supplier's supplier ID is selected and then change the caption to Supplier ID. Enter a value of 1 in the field Test Value. Click Save and then Back in the toolbar. There are a few things we need to fix before the data template becomes presentable. The first determines how data Pigeon handles the data returned by the query. The view type field can be set to either Detail View or List View. A detail view only ever shows one record, so even if your query returns 100 records, only the first will be displayed. A list view, on the other hand, shows as many records as are returned by the query. In this case, we want to show a single record, so the default view type or detail view is correct. To see how this is shaping up, click the Save button in the toolbar, and then click the Test button. The test results pop-up window shows what the data template will look like on a mobile client. It is clear that the description of the fields leaves something to be desired. We need to change them to something more appropriate. Also, it would be nice if we could tap on an address to see it on a map, tap on a phone number to call it, or tap a website address to see the web page. Close the test results window and then click the Columns button in the toolbar. This screen presents the list of columns on the left and the details for the currently selected column on the right. When making changes, don't forget to click the Save button before changing to a different column. The first column in the list should be Supplier's Supplier ID. We don't want to display this field, so uncheck the visible box and save your changes. Now select the Supplier's Company Name column on the left. Change the caption to Name and then click Save. Change the caption for column Supplier's Contact Name to Contact. We don't really want to see the supplier's contact title column, so uncheck the visible box. Select the column Supplier's Address and change the caption to Address. It is possible that the address may take up more than one line, so tick the field multi-line to let data Pigeon know you are happy for the field to expand over more than one line. We also want to be able to tap on the address field and show it on a map. To do this, we need to identify what part of an address this particular column represents. In the Field Info field, select Address 1, since this is the general part of the address. Select the column Supplier's city and change the caption to city. This is also part of an address, so set the field info field to town. We don't want to display region, so untick the visible box in Supplier Region. Change the caption from column Supplier's postal code to postcode and set field info to postcode zip. Change the caption for column Supplier's country to country and set the field info to country. Change the caption for column Supplier's phone to phone and set the field info to phone number. Change the caption for column Supplier's fax to fax. Change the caption for column Supplier's homepage to website and set the field info to website. To see the results of the changes we have made, click the back button on the toolbar and then click the test button. This is now looking quite presentable. Close the test window. Click on the home link in the breadcrumb underneath the toolbar. Click on the tutorial grouped product list we created in the first tutorial. Click the query button and then click the columns button. Select the column product supplier ID. We want to allow a mobile user to be able to open the Supplier Details data template by tapping on the supplier when viewing a product. To achieve this, in the link field select Tutorial Supplier Details and click Save. When this link is executed, Pigeon will use the current value of Product Supplier ID as the criterion value for the Tutorial Supplier Details data template. However, we have specified that the Product Supplier ID column is not visible. Pigeon provides a way to redirect a tap on a field to another field. In this case, we are showing the supplier's company name field. So select the supplier's company name column. In the Redirect Tap To field, select Product Supplier ID and click Save. Now, when a user taps the supplier name, Pigeon will react as if the Product Supplier ID column had been tapped. However, we have specified that the product's company name column is not visible because we set it as the footer column for the view. So tick the visible box for supplier's company name and click Save. Now click the back button and on the Edit Query screen, set the footer column to blank and click Save. Although you can see what the data template will look like by clicking the Test button, you will need to try the data template out on a mobile client to test the link, address, phone and website features. This completes the tutorial to create the Supplier Details data template.